Hello everyone, so today I want to share with you a parallel compression technique that I found for short strings. So I generally do this on my short strings bus nowadays, so not in every track, but when you have a track where you have some short strings with some accents and you kind of want to make it breathe and feel a bit stronger, like it's like they're playing a bit stronger than they actually are, and this works really well in my opinion. So this is my dry signal, right? You can do this with a normal aux, and this is just the parallel chain. So I have a gain here because my compressor threshold couldn't go low enough. And then I have an EQ. This is not a must, but I like to make the compressed signal slightly more exciting. I think it makes the parallel compression a bit more exciting. But the most important part of the chain is definitely the compressor, and that's what's adding the movement. So let me show you how it sounds first, so you can get an idea of what we want to create to actually blend in the dry signal. So this is the dry signal. And this is what we want to blend. So the settings are quite important. First, you need to have a pretty long attack because you don't want to crush the strings, and the strings are not the tightest instruments ever, even in staccato. So you need to make sure you have a long enough attack to actually leave the string attack go through. So right now it's set at like 41, but because it's in feed-forward mode, it's actually longer than that. So it's more like 60, 70 milliseconds. Depending on your compressor, you're going to have to experiment, but make sure you let the punch go through, right? We're not trying to clamp any transient or anything like that. And then the release should be pretty fast. So right now it's like 120, 130, ish, because we want the compressor to pump and actually kind of come back at the original position before the next accent of the strings, if that makes sense. And the ratio is pretty hard. So right now it says 2:1, but again, I'm in feed-forward mode on this compressor. It's actually more like 4 or 5:1 if you use a normal compressor. So use a pretty hard ratio, but again, it depends on the strings and do that to taste. But now the most important part is having a sidechain filter, because the thing is the basses will trigger the compressor way too much if I don't have that. Let me show you. See, that's when I turn this off, just the low end from the basses just triggered the compressor way too much. And we don't want that to happen too much. I mean, it really depends on what you want to do. If you want the strings to pump around the basses, you can leave more low frequencies in the detection signal. So this is internal sidechain, meaning this is what the compressor will listen to compress. So basically the compressor is compressing the whole signal, but what it's actually hearing, what it's basing its compression on, is what it's hearing through this thing here. So if we decide to put a high pass filter, for example, and cut some lows, the compressor is not going to hear as much lows, so it won't react to the lows as much, and it will compress less on the bass accents, if that makes sense. So this is only what the compressor is hearing. This is not what we're hearing us. And so if you want the compressor to react more to violins, you can raise the sidechain filter. If you want the compressor to react more to basses, you can lower it. So for this kind of short strings, I want it to be pretty much even, like there is some high violin accents and also some bass accents. So I kind of leave it so it reacts mostly the same. It reacts a bit more to the basses, but that's fine. So you can hear this pumping effect is just letting the attacks go through, and then it's kind of sucking back, and it's just kind of intensifying the smack of the strings, right? So of course this is way too strong, so we need to blend that in with the original signal. you could only inject 5% if you want, or it depends on the output volume of this chain. But you could just inject a tiny bit, and you could also compress less by moving the threshold to make the effect more subtle. And in that case, you could actually blend more. So it's completely up to taste. I like to get it kind of really tight at the compressor stage, and then I just know what I'm adding, you know. And so I get it like tight, but not overly reacting to certain accents, just kind of stable in terms of how it reacts, and then I just blend some of it. You can hear like how much energy it's adding to the strings, right? But it's not really destroying the core character of the strings. I tried with like OCT, different plugins, and it just doesn't work quite as well because like it tends to just flatten the strings too much. Or like I tried multi-band compressors, but it's just kind of flattening too much. So I like that because it's a full range compressor. It's keeping the integrity of the signal, but it's just grabbing the strings and just pumping them a bit, you know, and it just adds so much energy, makes the players feel like they are playing louder. It just fills up the kind of gaps in the room and adds intensity without crushing the transients. So yeah, to be clear, you don't really need this compressor, but you just need a simple compressor that has an internal sidechain feature, and you will be good. So I hope you guys like this little technique, and yeah. So if you wanted to react to more violin accents, raise the sidechain filter. If you wanted to react to the basses, just let more bass through the detection signal, and that's pretty much the point, you know. So I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you later. Cheers.